Hi everyone, welcome to a video in this playlist looking at one of the 10 key topics we've identified as being absolutely crucial to help you get your grade C, and in this video we're going to be looking at proportion. So let's have a look at a couple of typical GCSE style questions on this topic and see if we can kind of unpick some of the key things that you're going to need to remember. Proportion questions typically look at ingredients for some kind of cake, or in this example a flapjack bar, and then they talk about relating the amount of ingredients for one value to find it, hence the name of the topic, proportionately to another set of values. So let's look at this example. We've got a list of ingredients for making 10 flapjack bars. So if this was me in my exam, that's the first thing I'd highlight because it tells me how much ingredients I need for a set amount. So we've got 80 grams of oats, 60 grams of butter, 30 millilitres of golden syrup and 36 grams of brown sugar. And then it asks us to work out the amount needed for 15 flapjacks. There's two ways to approach this question. There's probably more, but there's two kind of really common ways. The first method's what's called unitary, and that's to work all of the ingredients back to the amount required for one flapjack bar, and then you can find any value you want. There is, I think, a quicker and simpler way, but it's about using multipliers, okay? So here I've got all of the ingredients currently for 10 flapjack bars, and I want to convert that into ingredients that I need for 15 flapjack bars. So what we need to kind of do is here we need to ask ourselves, how many more flapjack bars do I need as a proportion of the first amount? So to get from 10 to 15, I'm adding 5 more flapjack bars. But 5 flapjack bars in relation to 10 is half the amount. So I'm adding half the amount of ingredients again, or as a percentage, I'm adding 50% of the ingredients, or I'm timesing by 1.5. So I want 1.5 lots of the ingredients, or I want 50% of the ingredients more. So let's do that one by one, going through the ingredients, and let's start with the oats. So for the oats, I currently have for 10 flapjacks 80 grams of oats. I need 50% more, so I need 1.5 lots of that. So 50% of 80, to find 50%, remember we half it because 2 50% make 100, is 40. 80 plus 40, I need 120 grams of oats. And we're just going to follow the same technique for each of the other ingredients. So for the butter now, for 10 flapjack bars I need 60 grams. So I'm going to take 50% of this, half of this, again, and I'm going to add that on. So I now want 90 grams of butter. For the syrup, I currently need 30 millilitres for 10 flapjack bars, so I want 50% of this again. So I half that, and then I add them together to find my 15 flapjack bars. So 45 millilitres of syrup. And for the sugar, 36 grams for 10 flapjack bars, so let's half that for the extra 5 that I need, and then add them together, so that's 46, 54 grams, and there would be our final answer. That's the required ingredients for 15 flapjack bars. So just to highlight what I did there, I took all of these values, which were 50% of these values, or half of these values, because I needed half as many flapjack bars again, and then I added them together. The only thing I would kind of say there, which I do see some people make the mistake of, is they forget to add them on, or they just give this as the final answer. Okay, let's have a look at another type of question to do with proportion, to kind of look at the other technique that I mentioned. So here we've got another one, and this is from an actual past paper question, and it says 225 grams of flour are needed to make 9 cakes. Miriam wants to make 20 cakes with 475 grams of flour. Does she have enough? So first things first, we're going to do this one doing the unitary method instead. So we're going to find out how many grams of flour she needs for 1 cake. So if 9 cakes requires, and I'm just reading this from the original part of the question here, requires 225 grams of flour, then 225 divided by 9 would give me the amount of flour required for 1 cake. So 9s into 2 don't go, so I carry the 2 over. 9's now into 22, so let's count up in 9s till we can get to 22, but we can't go over. So 9, 18, 27 would be my next one, so that's too far, so it goes in 2 with 4 remainder. 9's into 45 go 5 times exactly, so 25 grams per cake. Now all I can do, because I've got this value which is called a unitary amount, is I can work out how much I'd need for the 20 cakes that Miriam wants to bake. So 20 cakes with 25 grams in each is going to require 500 grams of flour. Let's go back to the original question. She has 475 grams. Does she have enough? No. She is 25 grams short. Or you could say she has enough for 19 cakes, but not for 20. Okay, so there's the two types of proportion question that could come up in the exam. There is this other one that we're just going to look at very quickly because this has come up before and it's a lot of work, but it kind of builds on everything that we've just talked about there. So let's have a look at this one to finish this video off with. So here are the ingredients to make 12 shortcakes, very similar to the one that we looked at on the previous page about flapjacks. Liz makes some shortcakes. She uses 25 ml of milk. How many does she make? So it's a bit like a reverse question, I suppose. We've been told the multiplied up amount of ingredients, and therefore we've got to work back to how many shortcakes she could have made. So let's compare the milk measurement. So 10 millilitres of milk, and I'm reading this just from the ingredients section here, gave us 12 shortcakes. She used 25 millilitres. So here I'm looking at what I've timesed it by, or the scaled up value. So that's, what do I times 10 by to get 25? Well, I times that by 2.5. So she's done 2.5 lots of the milk. Therefore, she can, in theory, create 2.5 lots of the amounts of cake. So one lot is 12, 2 lots is 24, half of a lot is 6. So she can make 30 shortcakes just based on the amount of milk that she used. We don't know if she's used everything else in proportion. It then says, Robert's got some ingredients, work out the greatest number that he can make. And this is all again about the proportion, it's about the multipliers. So we know back at the beginning that for every 50 grams we can make 12 shortcakes. He's got 500 grams. Now what is 500 compared to 50? Well, that's times 10. So it's 10 lots of the sugar, therefore he can make 10 lots of the shortcakes. So according to just the sugar, he can make 120 shortcakes. And let's repeat that kind of technique now for the other ingredients. So let's look at the butter. He's got 1,000 grams of butter, and here it says 200 grams for 12. So how many 200s make our 1,000? Well, that's 5 lots. So let's do 5 lots of 12. Well, that's 60 shortcakes. So that's suddenly changed our answer. We've gone from thinking we can make 120 because we've got enough sugar to we've only got enough butter for 60 shortcakes. So we can still make 60 now. We're just going to have some sugar left over. Let's do the same now for the flour. 1,000 grams of flour, and this one looks like it's going to be exactly the same for the butter actually. 200 grams for 12. How many 200s make 1,000? Well, that's 5. So again, using the flour, we can make 60 shortcakes. And then the final ingredients, the milk. Here we've got 500 ml, we're comparing it to 10. How many 10s in 500? Well, 50, so that's a massive amount. So 12 times 50 is 600 shortcakes. But we know that's not going to be possible because he hasn't, or she has, no, it's Rob, sorry, isn't he? Hasn't got enough of the other ingredients. So our final answer is he's going to be able to make 60 shortcakes because that was the only number that goes into all 4 of these. There will be some sugar left over, there will be lots of milk left over, but that's the greatest amount we can make by using up all of the butter and all of the flour.